Hey, hello, and thank you for listening to Operation Agency Freedom, where we are bringing you top secret advice from the world's most badass digital agency owners. These amazing men and women are sharing their stories of how they have built 6, 7, and 8-figure digital agencies and how you can too. My name is Chris Martinez, CEO of Dude, where we help digital agencies by giving them the people and the processes so that they can take on more website and funnel projects and scale profitably. Today, I am super excited because after a year of waiting, we have Dennis Yu on the show. Dennis Yu, CEO of BlitzMetrics. Dennis, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes. And if it weren't for Corona, we'd be hanging out in Tijuana right now.
Oh, dude, we still got to do that.
Yeah.
Once this thing is kind of, we've got it under control, then you got to get down here. And I know that you're a foodie, so we're going to take you around.
Oh, yeah.
We'll just do like a whole day of just eating delicious food.
I'm down for that. Those are called meetings, MEAT.
Exactly. We got plenty of things that we can eat. Well, I'm really excited about today's roundtable discussion because, you ran track, and I've seen some of the pictures of you, like massive quads, like tearing down the track. So I want to hear more about that because I couldn't find a lot of information about your track stories.
Yeah, that was way before the internet, thank goodness.
So, and we're actually from the same hometown. You're from Palos Verdes. I'm from Torrance. You were up on the hill. We were down in lowly Torrance. We used to compete against you guys in sports. So, how did you get started running track?
Well, I was completely untalented and I wasn't tall or fast, so I couldn't do football or soccer. I know you play soccer.
Yep.
Everyone who has no skill, they go to the cross country team. And
nice.
Cross country is really just another system to optimize. It's your body that's processing energy through the ATP, ADP, Krebs cycle to be able to convert that through muscle efficiency to be able to run faster. So I thought, if I'm good at math, I can optimize my body just like a system of equations to be able to run faster. And that was my approach.
Awesome.
And I studied exercise physiology. I treated myself properly in terms of like eating, sleeping, and exercise. Now I don't do that anymore because, if I see good food, I just eat it. I've got a weight problem. I can't wait to eat. But I became good at cross country because I saw this other person who was clearly untalented and they were succeeding and they made the varsity team. And I thought, well, if they can make varsity, I can too.
Yeah.
And my first year of cross country, well, actually my first summer of cross country, I was the slowest person on the team. I showed up. Well, this is before I started all the studying. Like I thought, I got to do some kind of sport. I showed up in basketball high tops, and the first run was 3 miles, and I had to walk the last half because you can't really run in high tops.
Right.
And I didn't know anything about how this whole thing was, and it was very depressing. But after going through all this training and being at the bookstore and just devouring everything I could find out about running, right? I would go into this is back when you had like Borders and I guess you still have Barnes and Noble and the Crown Books and these other bookstores.
Yeah, right.
I would read the latest issue of Runner's World. Like that was my thing. And running was my thing. And I biked around everywhere. I was running 50, 60, 70 miles per week. And I made varsity cross country at the end of my first year, which was incredible. I ran my first mile under 5 minutes and I thought, wow, I'm like the Asian Roger Bannister,
Dude, that's insane. That's super fast.
And the coach even said, hey, look, if Dennis, who's 5 feet tall, can run a sub 5 mile, any midget can, right?
So then you ended up, doing really well. I mean, did you win CIF, or I'm guessing that you went to?
I went to CIF, but there were other people that were faster. And you probably know the Palos Verdes Sea Kings were nationally ranked,
right,
in terms of the girls and the guys team. And I was by the time it was sophomore year, I was number 2 on the team, and number 1 was Goss Lindsay. And that was when I left, and then the whole thing got shut down and moved to Peninsula High School.
They consolidated the high schools and they created this monster of a high school.
Yeah, that's when I left.
Awesome. So when you went to CIF, did you guys, I think the course was at Mount Sac, and that was like dreaded course that everybody would always talk about.
Yeah. There are 2 big hills. Well, 3, depending on how you count them. Yeah.
And then you ended up and you ran in college, right? I don't know. Did you get a scholarship?
I did. I had a full scholarship.
Wow. And so that took you from California to, was it Texas?
to Texas, to Dallas at Southern Methodist University. Yeah. And I got my butt kicked. I was used to doing things like setting course records and winning. And here I am running against actual Africans, if you can imagine. And I thought I was fast because I could run 5 miles in under 25 minutes, which, you know, for high school, that's impressive, right? If you can run 24 anything on 5 miles, whether it's flat or not. And these guys are running that pace in their training runs. We were running 100 miles a week for our base training. So anyone who's a cross-country athlete, you know that means you're going to 2-a-days. And you can't even take a day off unless you have 20-mile long runs, like on Sunday or whatever your long run day is. And it wasn't the distance that got me. It was the fact that we would wake up in the morning and do 5 a.m. runs when it's still dark. And normally for me, like when you want to get in your base mileage, you just run slow. A lot of those are junk miles because you're just trying to get some basic base in at like 7-minute pace. And they're running 5:30s.
Wow.
For the easy runs. And let's say you had a hard run the day before, and then you got to wake up the next morning and clock out 6 or 7 miles at 5:30, 5:30 pace at 5 in the morning, right? How brutal is that on your body? And then you got an afternoon workout too, where you're doing 40 quarters on the track in 65 seconds each 400-meter lap. And then you have 30 seconds rest alternating with 60 seconds rest. Can you imagine that? That's just crazy.
That sounds horrible.
And I thought, wow, in high school, I'd run, 4 or 5 of those quarters, which is a quarter mile. I'd run those in 70 seconds and have 3 minutes of rest in between. And now they want 40 of them with alternating 30-second, 60-second rest. It's just a whole nother level. It causes you to realize that, like me, I was just used to winning. I was collecting hardware on the weekends because I enjoyed, running 5Ks and winning divisions or winning the races overall.
Yeah.
And then you go against people who are for real, and it's a really humbling experience.
Right. I mean, they say, I've heard that, I didn't play college soccer, but, I've heard from guys who play professionally, guys who played for the national team, World Cups or whatever. Yeah. The jump from high school to college is like insane. And then the jump from college to professional is like a whole nother level of insanity. Yeah. And then from professional to international, I mean, it's just a massive, massive difference in terms of the level of training and the physicality. And, one of my friends that I played with as an adult named Jimmy Conrad, he played on the World Cup team in 2006 for the United States. And like he played men's league with us after he had retired. And one of the things that I'll never forget about Jimmy is that he never made mistakes. And the dude could just run forever. Like he was just one of those guys.
Easy, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's just one of those guys who could just wake up in the morning and he could run, a half marathon without even training. Like just his physical like strength, like endurance was just out of this world. Like I've nothing that I've ever seen before in my entire life. So.
And then how do you feel about that? And how about your training and your skill and your talent?
Well, talent-wise, that's one of the biggest regrets that I have from college is that I didn't play college soccer. I was very, very burned out after graduating from high school. And I went to Santa Barbara, and at the time, Santa Barbara was the worst team in the entire conference. I think they went 0-24 my freshman year. So I was like, do I really want to play for a bad team? Or do I just want to be a kid? And so I ended up like stepping away from the game for about 2.5-3 years, and then went back and started playing intramurals and just loved it. And by the time that I wanted to actually see if I could play at a collegiate level, the team was full, like they were nationally ranked. And then I think 2 or 3 years after I graduated, they ended up winning a national title. But, and I was going to ask you this question. The thing that I missed most is the camaraderie with the guys. Like that's something that I really, really enjoy, like the games and competing, like, there's been hundreds, if not thousands of games that I've played. But the things that I miss the most is just hanging out with the guys, like going to a tournament, hanging out in between games, just doing stupid shit. And like, just that camaraderie that you have. Like, what's the thing that you miss most about collegiate soccer or collegiate track?
I loved getting on this thing that we called the Loaf.
Okay.
And that was like a hotel airport shuttle bus, but it took us between the campus and White Rock Lake, which is where we had our workouts every day. And I love getting on the loaf because that was like when I was getting into my zone. That was when I was an athlete, and I enjoyed, like you mentioned, the team camaraderie. And I missed that kind of in business.
Yeah.
You know, in running an agency, in working with clients. I mean, we can say some of these folks are partners. We work closely together. You know, we'll have dinner, but the level of connection just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're maintaining this level of professionality. And I
Yeah.
miss being able to connect at that level. And I think a lot of us, we realized that once we left college, that those were the best years in being able to make connections. And it's so much harder because people are busy, they have families, all this, to really get in there and spend time together. And maybe it's like, you know, Band of Brothers, where the military, they, you know, these folks, they get together and they have a certain level of esprit de corps. I think that that's what we need to transfer in the business, especially in the United States. And I think that those make better teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, I want to talk about BlitzMetrics, and this is a good time to transition to that because, you know, I consider you to be one of the great connectors in the digital marketing world. And, you know, you're pretty much everywhere in any conversation when it's related to running ads or, you know, running a successful agency.
Yeah.
Your name is always in the mix. And of course, you know, you've spoken on some of the biggest stages. So really quickly, just summarize what it is that you guys do at BlitzMetrics.
So we help people start, grow, and scale their digital marketing agencies for local service businesses.
Awesome.
And there is no better time than now to be able to help ailing local businesses. It could be restaurants, chiropractors, plumbers, real estate agents. They're trying to move into digital. They don't know what to do. They don't have a process, and you don't need to be world class to be able to help them. So that's one side.
Mm-hmm.
That is the supply. Those are the people that are helping.
Okay.
Then the other side is the demand. So we have thousands of small business owners that want help that we can't service.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to be a giant agency. We do have an agency because we want to prove that we practice what we preach. So then we can put out training, you know, stuff like this to be able to show that we know what we're doing. But we only do this because we want to demonstrate that our training is up to date. We want to keep making the best training out there, recommend the best tools, be able to show how you could create an Uber of marketing because you have the demand, right? We're fortunate to have the #1 personal injury attorney in the US, #1 real estate agent in Colorado, #1 chiropractor, #1 mortgage banker. And we have all these different categories, like a dozen different, #1 dentist. He's got 19,000 dentists in his group. And he's a dentist. He's like an actual dentist, and he's teaching other dentists about marketing. So we have all this demand. And then there's all the supply, meaning we need to be able to help all the people in these different groups. So we have zero issue in generating demand. The #1 issue I hear from people who have an agency is they can't get clients or they want to generate more leads. That's the very last issue. That's telling the Eskimo that they need more ice. Like, that's not our issue. Our issue is we want to work with competent people that can actually deliver leads, that can follow our processes, that can actually go through this kind of stuff, which is what we teach, and we will feed people clients. You don't have to hop on these free phone calls and try to convince someone that you're good. You don't have to compete against the internal in-house person or Fiverr or stuff like that. These are people who are ready to buy. And we believe that if we put the right training out there, that brings together the demand and the supply side.
Now, it's interesting that you say that this is one of the best times to be running an agency and to be able to, you know, help businesses. I would say not a lot of the clients that we work with, but, you know, I'm in the Facebook groups and I see the kind of negativity or, I mean, these are real problems that people are having where clients are pausing, ad budgets are drying up. And a lot of people are going out of business because they just, you know, nobody's marketing. So it's interesting that you say that it's a great time to be running an agency. So what are some of the things that you guys are seeing right now? Because, you know, this is towards the end of April, we're right in the middle of the coronavirus shutdown. What are some of the things that are working for your agencies as well as your clients right now?
It is helping these small businesses be able to make 15-second videos with their cell phone, saying what's going on, being able to teach, get their digital presence working, get their remarketing pixels. Instead of having in-office visits like our client Redirect Health, they have a chain of hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want people to go into the hospital for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Now people are calling in, and that part of the business is growing, and they're getting more small business owners that want to provide healthcare for their employees. We have personal trainers that otherwise would work at gyms, but the gyms are closed right now.
Yep.
At least by state right now. Today they're closed. Maybe you're watching this later and stuff is starting to open up. Guess what? They're doing things like virtual training. They're building their personal brands. They are partnering with nutritionists and the chiropractors. They're sharing knowledge about how you stay healthy. Because the personal trainer is not just there to tell you how to do a proper bicep curl. You can go to YouTube for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really accountability. It's coaching. It's something deeper. It's the relationship. And it's teaching all of these small business owners that ultimately it's your personal brand that's helping drive the business. And now is a great time because even if other businesses are suffering, if you're doing better in the category, you're going to win. My friend Brandon Hurtado he owns a barbecue restaurant in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And he also has been a client of ours for a few years. Full disclosure, any example I mentioned is a client example.
Okay.
And he also runs the Anchor Agency. So unlike other restaurants, his barbecue place has gone through the roof. Catering, orders, the delivery where people come curbside because people know about what he's doing. He's making constant little videos on saying, look, this is a giant 50-pound pork thing that I'm smoking. Let me show you how I'm making it. Oh, call this number and we'll deliver it to you. We're still open. And every day making videos saying, we're still open. You can call us. This is the best brisket you've ever had. Whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And he's gathering reviews and he's featuring what customers are doing. And he's going out and feeding first aid workers, right? But just showing up and catering them with amazing barbecue. And it's not that we're preying upon misfortune, but in any particular industry, there's always going to be people that are winning, even if the overall industry is down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same for agencies. A lot of agencies, like we lost a lot of clients, a lot of travel and hospitality clients. Mm-hmm. So MGM Resorts, which owns like half of Las Vegas, they're the largest employer in Nevada, largest taxpayer in Nevada. They obviously can't pay anything right now because their stuff is shut down.
Yeah.
So we lose business there, but how much business did we gain for other services, right? Net, we're way up. Our business has grown. Our agency's grown. Yet I see a lot of agencies where they had that initial loss and they weren't able to replace it with other clients because they didn't have an inbound process. They didn't leverage their word of mouth. It was too easy for them to be a digital marketer. Mm-hmm. And up until a couple months ago, anybody with half of a brain and a heartbeat could be successful as a digital marketing agency, right, Chris? Now you actually have
quarter of a brain.
Yeah, not much. Yeah.
So I think that one of the big things that separates the people who are finding the opportunities right now in this environment is this mental switch that you're able to get up really, really quickly when you get knocked down. Mm-hmm. So like what I've seen from a lot of inexperienced agency owners, especially, is that, let's say 30% of their clients cancel. Well, they spend a week, 2 weeks, a month licking their wounds and not getting out and trying to replace that revenue and also not trying to retain their clients. So what are some of the systems that you use personally to overcome adversity or whenever something goes really bad in your business? Because this is just a part of running a business. Like, you're going to have ups and you're going to have a lot of downs. And you got to be able to figure out how to get through it.
Yep. So there's working on the business versus in your business. Mm-hmm. Now, if your agency is small and it's primarily you and maybe a few freelancers or a few in-house people, mm-hmm. the temptation is to work just on those particular clients that you have and be unintentionally fat and lazy because the money's still rolling in every month on these retainer clients. Mm-hmm. What you have to always be doing, which is a little bit of extra work, but it's worth it, is you have to be documenting what you're doing along the way. So if you are not being lazy about your weekly status reports, if you're not being lazy about how you build and optimize campaigns, you are leaving a paper trail of how you do this. Now, we do this inside Basecamp. You can use Trello or Google Docs or what have you, but in the nature of executing, you are going to be showing what's working. You might have heard the phrase "success leaves clues."
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So let's say that choose a particular client that you may have done this for. We'll just make up an example, or choose one that you work on.
A client that we work with?
Yeah, sure. Or a particular industry.
I mean, we work with agencies. So,
An agency who's working on, let's say a dentist. I'll just make one up. Okay.
okay, cool.
And let's say you have a dentist, because they're super common. There's lots of them. And you're driving leads and calls to things like Invisalign and cosmetic dentistry, and get your first teeth cleaning, or, you know what, I guess general dentistry versus cosmetic, they're different. But let's just say that that's your dentist client and you have been steadily driving results, and you know what kind of campaigns are working against what kind of targets, structured in a certain way, Facebook, Google, YouTube, whatever, you're running campaigns, right? Well, don't you think that you could take that thing that you've done for that, let's say it's a cosmetic surgeon, and you could do it for 5 other cosmetic surgeons. And that current cosmetic surgeon you have would be happy to talk about what they're doing if you framed it as an interview or your podcast where you're using it as what they're going to see as PR. We say, so tell me about how you were able to make that lady smile better. Tell me about what the latest machinery is. Tell me, like, what is it that makes a good cosmetic surgeon? Tell me about, and you're interviewing them. By the fact of you doing that, you're going to be weaving in, they're going to be weaving in what the process is working with you to be able to drive leads through digital. And when that really is building a testimonial, but you don't say testimonial, because a testimonial is like, oh, I like working with Chris Martinez at Dude Agency, and I outsource all my creative there, and they're fantastic. That could be true, but that's a testimonial, and people naturally don't trust that, right?
Okay.
So instead, you interview them about them.
Yeah.
And you make it about the result they achieved and what they did, and you just happen to be a part of it, and you're honored to be able to ask them to explain step by step how the thing works. So if you do that, and you have one of them that you've done pretty well, that's called a Lighthouse.
Okay.
A Lighthouse is a repeatable public example with that client talking about how they did it. You publish it on, just like you would podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, whatever. You push it out for $1 a day, so you get views against it. And then you target other clients that are in that vertical. You target all the other cosmetic dentists in other cities. Obviously, you don't want to interfere with, with your current client.
Yeah.
And you more and more the same thing. And thus you have, if you do it properly, you'll have a waiting list so long that if you were to lose all your clients, it wouldn't matter, because you would have so many other clients that want to do business with you. Of course, you don't want to lose a client for the bad reason, because you did a bad job or you didn't communicate or something like that. But
right.
If you're doing this, then you will always have, your reputation precedes you, and people would be honored to be able to work with you. And maybe you haven't done that. Maybe you've been able to coast this far and this Corona thing caught you off guard, and now you need more clients. Or maybe you were kind of weak to start with because you only had a couple clients and you were just getting going and you don't have a team, and the whole chicken and the egg where you're not generating enough revenue to be able to do the documentation and promote yourself. The cobbler's son has no shoes. It's still a great time to do that.
Yeah.
You can still do things like website audits. You can still approach the businesses that you already know as customers and say, hey, I looked you up on Facebook and you're not there. Or I looked at your reviews and you have some negative reviews that you should really clean up. Or I went to your website and you're not doing any remarketing and your site loads slow according to Google's page speed insights tool. Or here's these other things, and I'd love to give you, right now, here's our special. I would love to help you for free identify those things that are broken and give you a whole checklist of what they are and how you can fix them for free. I'll do that. I'll sit down on the phone and walk you through the things that are broken based on that analysis. Would you like to do that? They'll say yes to that. Then you get on a call, explain it to them, and then you give them the materials to be able to go through so they can fix all of it themselves. But then what are they going to say, Chris?
I don't want to do this. How much is it for you to do it for me?
That's right. And then you can go into your whole pitch.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Only when they ask. Give out all the content for free. We've been giving away our training for free.
I've seen that.
How many agents give away their stuff for free? What do they say? They say, I don't want to equip my competitors. Or, the client.
If I give it to them, then why are they going to want to hire me? Right?
Exactly. Well, you know what? If they would try to do it, knock yourself out. There's some of the folks out there, they download our guide, for example, on digital plumbing, on how to set up Google Tag Manager, put in all the pixels and fire the events and triggers, and set up there's all kinds of things that you set up with your tracking to make sure it's working right with attribution, UTM parameters, email and web custom audience syncing, third-party networks to manage dynamic product ads through premium ad inventory. Like, there's lots of things that you could do there, and we have all the training on it, and some people actually do it, which is great. And those people we don't want as clients.
Small people, a small percentage
Yeah.
of people will actually do it.
Yeah. But if that scares you, and the odds of a cosmetic surgeon wanting to do that, their time is worth way more. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you mentioned, hey, this work is all being done by people who are certified in our training program. And they've done it over and over again. And a lot of them, they're young adults where they're still in college or they just graduated, or they're people in the Philippines where they're doing this professionally to take care of their families. So they're working very hard because it's serious. Or they're stay-at-home moms that have gone through our training. And they're probably making on average between $20 and $30 an hour. Now, if you're a cosmetic surgeon, tell me, what is your time worth? Right?
Yeah, it's going to be way more than that.
If you're a personal injury attorney, what's your time worth? And do you really want to mess around compared to someone who has specialized and does this over and over again professionally? Would you rather, if you have a personal injury attorney because whatever, you got in a car accident, wouldn't you rather work with a personal injury attorney who's done this many, many times versus someone who's like, oh yeah, I practice any kind of law. Like, whether it's a slip and fall or, you have a domestic abuse situation, like, or you have a traffic ticket. Oh yeah, I'll handle all of them. Or would you like to work with someone where like, that's the one thing they do and they specialize in it?
Yeah, absolutely. You always want to work with a specialist.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question for you. I have an opinion about what to do. How would you handle right now somebody who just says, no, I'm going to wait it out. I'm gonna wait until this coronavirus thing comes. If that's your prospect, how are you responding to that situation?
So Chris, let's say you and I, we run a hospital emergency room. Okay. And there's patients that are coming in because they're dying, because they had a gunshot wound, car accident, coronavirus, whatever. And do you need to convince those patients that they need medical help?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. So if they're not in pain, why are you wasting time trying to convince them? Do you see cardiac surgeons going on door knocking things in the neighborhood, like, selling Girl Scout cookies? Hey, would you like to get a heart surgery? I'll give you a double bypass for 50% off if you buy by Friday.
Right.
Do you see that happening?
No, of course not.
So if they don't have clear need, if they don't come to you with clear need, why are you trying to convince them? It's a waste of time. And even if you do sort of convince them, then they don't really have respect for you. Then you're just a salesperson. Versus when they come to us, it's a privilege. I did 2 calls yesterday that were $1,500 each, right? So that's $3,000 in 2 hours of consultation. Just to spend time with me. Did I have to convince them that my time's worth $1,500 for an hour? Do I have to convince them that, oh, look at all the places I've spoken at, look at the clients that we've worked at, look at how long I've been doing this and the content I published. Did I ever have to mention that?
No, of course not.
No.
Because you're Dennis Yu. No.
And if you work with, then it's not because I'm Dennis Yu. I'm not the most attractive or most well-spoken or most charismatic or whatever person. I'm an engineer that stumbled into marketing and realized that you could systematize the thing, just like, doctors systematize hospitals, pilots, they systematize how you fly. And if you come through our training and I endorse you, then you don't have to have 23 years of digital marketing experience. I'm actually explicitly advocating on behalf of the people that we train. Like there's one of the guys in our program, his name's Jake Campoli, and he's 22 years old. And he's been in our program for 4 years. And I made a video saying, hey, if you want to get your digital plumbing done properly and you don't want to mess through all this training, because maybe as an agency, you like to work with the creatives. You like to do client stuff. You like to do strategy, and you'd rather do like the WordPress and landing page, ClickFunnels, whatever to someone else. Then you should hire Jake Campoli, and his package is only $200, and he'll implement this entire checklist of items. And if you're an agency, he'll white label it for you. How awesome is that, right? And I'll do stuff like that all day long. Does that take money away from me? Does that hurt me to promote someone else? Do I care about $200? I charge $5,000 for that package. Why would I ever sell it for $200? His agency's growing and he's doing it $200. And for a college kid, that's pretty good, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
$200 for like 3 or 4 hours of effort. It'd probably take a normal person 3 or 4 days to mess around and they still wouldn't get it right. Yeah. Still the remarketing pixels are not firing properly. And then all kinds of problems happen when it's not working properly. But for him, that's not bad, for half a day's work. And as he starts to get better, he's going to realize, charging $200, that's way too cheap. I need to charge $500 for that, right? And then he'll have a higher level of client. But then people that come in and want to buy it for $200, by then he's trained up all these other people on how to do it. And then when they're starting out, they're charging $200, right?
Awesome. Awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, like my opinion on that question that I asked about, what do you do with the people who want to stand still, is just move on. Like you were saying before, it's like it's no use trying to convince somebody that
They
they
got
need
to
to
come to
take
you. They have to,
that they
yeah.
need to take action.
In sales, it's called BANT: budget, authority, need, and timing. If they don't have those four, you're wasting your time.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, guess what? We're like at 30 minutes already. We could keep talking for like an hour. But of course, I want to be respectful of your time, and I definitely appreciate you coming on. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you, Dennis?
Find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is how we do business. You're an agency owner, you want to grow your business, catch me on LinkedIn. I put more professional content on LinkedIn. You can follow me on Facebook. I'm maxed out in terms of the number of friends. You could Google me. I care about seeing you guys succeed, right? When we realize that it's like a blue ocean. There's so many businesses out there that want help, that when you're properly trained, you know what you're doing. There's more than enough business than all of us could possibly take on. And I would love to, and I'd honor to be your guide, just like Chris is, and interviewing other people for Operation Agency Freedom on the people that are doing it right. I'd love to see you grow. I would love to see you guys systematize your business just like this.
Awesome, man. Okay. Last question. Who is the perfect person to reach out to you today?
Anyone who's an agency owner and they're trying to systematize their business. They've got a few clients, but they're all different. And therefore they're having trouble scaling, and they're tired because they're doing the same thing over and over again. And they want to be able to outsource, but they don't know how, because they don't know how to hire a virtual assistant. They don't know how to work with like Dude Agency. They don't know how to delegate out to an operations person to do project management, so they don't have to organize meetings and stuff like that. Yep. Those are the people that are going to benefit the most from the processes that we have.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for being on the show today, Dennis. Really, really appreciate it. To all of our listeners out there, thank you guys for tuning in, and make sure that you return next Thursday and every Thursday for the next episode of Operation Agency Freedom. Bye-bye.